Talking with my mom was difficult for me, and for years, I have mostly done it through other people around us, avoiding direct interaction. At the end, she held on, waiting for me to talk to her directly. An amazing parting gift that she gave me. Once I realized I needed to do that, I sat down next to her and started talking, as honestly as I've ever spoken with anyone. I told her I felt she was holding on to something still, and I wanted her to know it was okay to go. I told her I had been deliberating over finding some specific biblical passage or passages I could read to her or share with her at this time, but that it just wasn't something I was very familiar with and thus felt unnatural to me. I told her that I decided I needed to share something that was personal to me. That way I could truly be with her at this time. I told her how I had faced my own challenges over the last few years and had only 2 years ago stumbled upon a quote that has been life-changing for me. It was written by Rainer Maria Rilke. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He was a late 1800s poet / writer, and he spent a considerable amount of his time observing nature, drawing from those observations as he offered insight on the human condition. One such observation was in watching blue jays as they take flight. They literally step, or rather hop forward from their perch high in a tree and allow their body to plummet downward. Once they've cleared all the other branches and obstructions on their fall downward, and only moments before hitting the ground, they casually spread their wings and soar forward in flight. It is necessary for the bird to plummet or fall before spreading his wings and taking flight. The same is true for us. Trust in your heaviness and fall patiently. Rilke. As I shared most of this, Mom was only breathing heavily, very labored at this point, and I really couldn't be sure if she was hearing me or not, but the nurses had assured me that often people in this state, in their final moments, are in fact listening and hearing everything. Hearing is said to be the last sense to go when you die. When I reached the conclusion of my talk to her, I told her it was time for her to go, that it was okay to let go. And I said, trust in your heaviness, fall patiently. She opened her eyes for the first time in more than 24 hours to look directly at me. Only for a second. And then she let go. And as hard as it is, I now understand just how beautiful death can be. Death only takes a physical body. Love lives forever and can even grow out of death, as my love for my mother has only grown since her passing. Trust in your heaviness and fall patiently. December 5th, 2020. There's another thing I wanted to note about that time. Mom died in the morning around close to 8 a.m., I think, on January 10th of 2020. That afternoon, a few hours after she passed, a massive thunderstorm came through very suddenly. I had also noted that on my laptop and specifically called it a torrential thunderstorm and downpour, completely different from the rest of the weather we'd seen in the month prior and after. Rosemarie, the nurse I had hired to help me look after my mom, said something to me about it indicating it was a phenomenon known to her and was a good omen of sorts. I'm paraphrasing significantly because I don't actually remember her specific choice of words at all, but I do clearly remember her meaning. I remember her intention. More recently, I have looked it up and found that rain and thunder are often associated with the idea that it's an indication of someone's acceptance into heaven. I like that. How could you not? And it is very fitting. For all my mother's flaws, surely her heart was overwhelmingly good. Not always true, but certainly good and almost flawlessly well-intentioned. If she were not to be welcomed into heaven, then who? And maybe she's finally found a voice to speak to me through. I think her dying wish was probably that I would find God. And that's exactly what has been happening. I am finding God. And it is a journey, a path, an intention for truth. God is far too great as to be considered stationary, and that is mirrored in our very existence. You must always keep moving, learning, growing, adapting, for the only constant is change. And if change is the only constant, perhaps change itself is where we find God. The following, what I end with, is a quote in Latin that was inscribed above Carl Jung's home, or the doorway to his home in Sweden, that I do not know how to pronounce, so forgive me. Vacatus atque non vacatus duus aderet. Which has been loosely translated many different ways, but basically means, invited or not, God is present. I think about this a lot now, and it means everything to me.